Seller.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Retro Seller, where today we're going to be taking a look at another handheld, this one being the R36H. Some of you might remember a while back I did a review on the R36S Max, which is what this one is. This is pretty much the sibling to that one, pretty much has the same specs, same performance, just a different form factor being horizontal, thus the H, as opposed to this one, which is more Game Boy style. So it has similar specs, which are, it has a CPU running an RK3326 chipset. Its processor is an ARM Cortex 64-bit quad-core A35 running at 1.5 gigahertz. Its GPU is a Mali G31 MP2 running at 520 megahertz. Its RAM is a 1 gigabyte DDR3L. The operating system that it has is Arc OS 2.0, which is running Emulation Station, I believe. Its screen, which is actually a really nice screen, is a 3.5-inch IPS with a resolution of 640 by 480. It has a 3,000 milliamp battery, which should get you around 5 to 6 hours of playtime. It has over 20 emulators on it that it can run. So as usual for most of these handhelds, it's going to run the 8-bit stuff, the 16-bit stuff pretty darn well. Up to PlayStation 1 shouldn't be a problem. It also is running a Nintendo 64, a Dreamcast, and Nintendo DS. You're going to have mixed bag performance with those, of course. The 2D stuff should run with no problem for most of these games. And some light 3D stuff. Maybe it'll surprise us. I don't know. We'll take a look at it. I should probably mention how much this thing costs. I got it on AliExpress for $34.30. It was 41 something with tax. And pretty much that's the ballpark, around $35 to $50. You know, they have it on Temu and TikTok Shop, AliExpress, Banggood, various sites like that, and that's pretty much the range. I wouldn't really pay much more for it. There are other versions of it, like there's a Pro Max, there's probably an Ultra, and whatever else. But the difference between one and the Ultras and Pro Maxes is negligible, because it's pretty much running the same chipset with the same specs. So the performance is going to be the same. So just as usual, we'll shop around and see which one piques your interest the most. And as usual, we will look and see what you get in the box, play a bunch of games on it, do a little bit of the 8-bit, 16-bit stuff, do the more meatier, higher end stuff, and see if this is something that you want to add to your handheld collection. This is the box for the R36H, and here it actually shows you some of the other colors that it comes in, which is like a translucent purple, the one I got, the yellow one, a red one, a translucent gray, and a white one. And as we go around, nothing special there. Over here it says pretty much what's in it, the specs that I already went over right here. And that's pretty much it for that. So let us open it up. And here is the console itself, which we'll look at shortly. And what else do we get in here? We get some nice wipes to put on a screen protector here. Nice to have. Some kind of, this is a dust absorber to apply the screen protector. Yes, that's cool. You have your USB-C charging cable. No brick as usual with these things. And we have the manual, which is super duper basic. You don't usually expect to get books with these things, but nevertheless, this is what you get. No need to look over it. It's no big deal. And how about we put this off to the side and see what we have here. And here we have the R36H. Let's take this screen protector off. That's always so satisfying. And now, as far as the build quality is concerned, it's actually really nice. Got a little heft to it. The plastic isn't too cheap. And let's see, on the front you have your analog sticks. Not a fan of where this one is. I just prefer the D-pad up here. That's my personal taste. You have your A, B, X, Y. D-pad feels really good, actually. And your Nintendo Switch style analog sticks are pretty darn good. They feel decent, standard, I guess. Up here you have the select button, start button, and up on the top you have your L1, L2, R2, R1 buttons. You have a power button, a reset button, and your volume buttons, plus and minus. And then on the bottom, you have your USB-C port for charging. You have a second SD card slot, your main one, which also has the operating system, your headphone jack, and this would be another USB-C port, which you can use to put in a Wi-Fi dongle, connect it to your computer, what have you. And two very nice stereo speakers. And on the back, you have is where your battery is, your 3000 milliamp battery, and these nice little grips here, which are a nice little addition to it. But overall, it's pretty nice. I like the build quality. Not too bad. So how about we play some games and then call it a day. And now, after powering this on, here's our look at the main menu. This is something you could actually change yourself by going into RetroArch and tooling around with it. This is kind of the one that I settled on. And let's go through the systems that it has. It has arcade with 1,927 games. Your CPS 1, 2, and 3, only 4 of those. PC Engine, 359. NES with 1,639. Super Famicom, NES with 4,071 games. Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64 has 185 games. That's a pretty hefty amount. We got Game Boy, 3,250. Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, 2023 of those. 136 Nintendo DS games. That should be interesting to see how those play on this kind of screen, since it's a dual screen system. Mega Drive, 2,931. Genesis, 890. Dreamcast, it has 9 games there. Again, I think they're cherry picked to play these games that are more likely to perform on this system, which I am not opposed to that, because I'd rather have few games that run rather than a whole crap load of ones that won't run. And Neo Geo, 174 games. Neo Geo Pocket. Neo Geo Pocket Color. PlayStation with 69 games. Surprised there aren't a few more of those, because they should actually run pretty decent. Then again, you could also add your own games to this, which most of these things you can. PSP with 26 games. Those should be pretty much hit or miss, but we'll see. Pico 8 with 5 games. Got 6 ports. Movies, which I really don't know that you would ever use it for that. And apparently there's only one in there anyway, but who cares? Here's where you could do your settings in Arcos. This is where you could get into RetroArch, and then all games and favorites, and back to arcade. So why don't we bust out a few of these games and see how well this plays. But before we do that, from the main menu, if you hit the start button, this gets you into RetroArch, where you can do some sort of basic settings. I'm not going to really get into it because sometimes this can get sort of complicated, but there are resources out there if you're interested in what you can do to improve the performance of this. But here's basically where you'll go into the UI settings to change the theme of the main menu if you want, among other things. Sound settings, this is where you can choose the music that plays on the main menu. I turned it off because it does get kind of annoying after a while. Game collection is where, here's where in the emulator settings where you can make adjustments to the system by picking different emulators to see which ones perform best. We're not going to really mess around with that. Scraper, advanced settings. This is where you can make little sort of tweaks to it. Again, I'm not going to get into it, but this is a neat thing where you can show the frame rate to see how many frames per second you're getting on it. Thread loading. Nothing like horribly advanced, to be honest with you, compared to most of the menus that you can get through RetroArch. But that's pretty much that. Here is where, like most of these systems, you don't just want to hit the power button and turn it off, because you could corrupt the SD card, and which, by the way, as I've said in the past before, these come with a real generic SD card, and it would probably be best for you to change it to a more reputable one, like a SanDisk or something. But here is where you would go to quit and shut down the system. This is the preferred way to turn it off. It's safer to do it that way. So let's go into arcade. This is where you just go and you can scroll through the different games that are on here. Some of these systems, when you stop on a particular game, it'll actually play it for you so you can get a taste of it, such as this one right here. Not everyone does this, and some of this is a little messy because some of the games don't even have any box art or anything like that on it, or any screenshots, but overall it's not too bad. You can also change this to have more of a list style, so you don't have to go, individually through all of these. So here you can see I adjusted it so that you could see it in a list style, which is neat because you look down here and it gives you a little synopsis of each game. That's actually pretty neat. But how about we get into playing some? Screen looks really good on this. It's real bright and crisp. Oops.
Shield slash. Shield slash. Real power. Shield slash.
Something I just discovered, if you want to save a game, just hit select and R1. And as you can see, it says save state to slot 0. And you could also load by hitting, I believe it's select and L1 will load a game. So that's interesting. So to show you that the load games does work, go back into Boogerman, let it load up for a second, and then hit select and L1, and it takes you to exactly where you saved the game. That's pretty cool. A real smidge. Not too bad though.
3, 2, 1. Okay. Okay. Wow, you left everyone behind. Dude, don't go that way. Don't swerve. No problem. You've been overtaken. Good.
Not running too bad.
Nice. Don't miss any more.
And this is a real tough game on these systems. And if you look on the upper right, you'll see that it's running at 13 frames per second. It's down to 12 here. So this isn't that good.
I must return.
So I am playing virtual tennis
015.
on PSP. And as you can see, things are a bit off here. Playing at 22 frames per second now. I have frame skipping on, so I made like an adjustment. And it helped a little bit, but here you can see it dipping again. So PSP is gonna struggle, but some of the games will be okay, I suppose. I suppose it's playable. It's not too bad. And I think we're going to close this out and play one more of the beefier systems on here. And we'll play a game of Dreamcast, and that ought to do it.
Victory strengthens the soul of nightmare. You win!
And that'll do it for a look at the R36H Handheld console. I gotta say, I like it better than the R36S. For me, it's mostly because of its form factor. I prefer the horizontal type of systems. Again, just because it's more comfortable for me personally. Like I said, I'm not a fan of where the analog stick is, because for the kind of games, the retro games that this plays, I personally prefer to use the D-pad. So I would prefer to have the D-pad up on top, although it's not horribly uncomfortable where it's at. So I'll give it a pass for that. As far as the performance is concerned, I'm pleasantly surprised by how it handled the higher end systems. They must have tweaked it a little bit, because I think the performance you get out of this is a little bit better than the R36S. And even like the Ambernick, the XX series, the RG35XX, 40XX, or whatever else there is, similar performance, but I think this slightly ekes it out a little bit as far as systems in this price range. So for me, I prefer this one. In fact, dare I say, this is probably my new favorite handheld, budget one at least anyways. But as I said, I highly recommend this, and definitely give this one 2 thumbs up. I'll probably play the crap out of it, to be honest with you. Anyhow, that should do it for this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one.